Like many of you, I love to win. I prefer to win. Winning is a lot more fun than losing. Being able to count your successes is a lot more pleasant than having to count your losses, your setbacks, and your failures. However, I'm old enough now and I've read enough about history to know that this is complicated by two things. Number one, the fact is of the matter is that most of the time you're not going to win. And secondly, the fact of the matter is that in order to win, you have to do what it takes to win. And most people who I imagine are like me are not the kind of people who are willing to do whatever it takes. I had a perfect season one year in high school. We played every game, came out, did our best, put our best foot forward, played an honest and fair game, and lost 0-13. Perfect season. And it was frustrating because you put in all the effort, you go out, you do your best, and you lose. Because you can lose by a single point, and it's over. When I played soccer is also frustrating because there's also a tie where if you don't score, you can't win. And as a defender and a substitute goalie, and I'll talk about that more in a second here, it was impossible for me to contribute to the winning, but we were always blamed for any points that were scored on us. It was impossible for us to win the game, but it was our fault if we lost. I never really understood that. And that's how life is that if it doesn't end up in a win, that everyone will point out the loss and they will look for somebody to blame. And that's sort of where I'm going with this today is where is the blame and what happened to make a win for some and a loss for others. My last year of playing soccer in college, I can't remember what game we were at. We had like 3 or 4 left to play in the season, and we're playing this game against I guess it was a group that was predominantly made out of foreign exchange students. So I remember there was this one Italian guy on the team who really hated that he had a lot of trouble getting the ball past me. I'm not like a top tier player or anything. I was just really good at predicting the kinds of things that people were likely to do with the ball and putting myself between the ball and the goal. I got hit in the head a lot. That has nothing to do with this. I got hit in the crotch a lot. I got kicked a lot. I got hit in the stomach a lot. But I was good at figuring out where to put my body so that it would come between the ball and a goal. And finally, this individual got so frustrated with the fact that I was so good at defending that he decided that he was just going to kick me in the crotch. He missed my crotch and hit me in the shin. And he hit me in the shin so hard. Sorry, the crotch story is another one I'll tell in a second. He hit me in the shin so hard that I could actually not walk for 2 weeks. Now, we went on to win the game, and I think he was red carded from the game. He at least got a yellow card. I think he was ejected and he was gone. But he was so frustrated that he was willing to do whatever it took to make it possible for his team to win. Now, the crotch story. When I was in martial arts, I think it was one of my very first tournaments. We went up to Valdosta, Georgia, to compete in this tournament, and there are very strict rules about sparring and what you can and cannot do. And I remember it wasn't one of the first people I fought, but it was as you're getting into contention to get a trophy, and a guy immediately kicked me in the crotch. And I was wearing a cup, but if you get a really good kick in the crotch, it doesn't matter where your cup is or that you're wearing one. It still hurts like the dickens. And once you've been kicked in the crotch, it doesn't matter how good you've lost all initiative and you've lost all momentum going into the fight, which is what I did. And he eventually would go on to win. Of course, they chastised him, but damage has been done. It's the same thing you saw in Karate Kid, except for not on anywhere near as grandiose a scale, but made that movie more relevant to me. So I've learned over the past 25 years of my life that the real difference is that winners are not the best people. Winners are those who are willing to do whatever it takes to win. Whether that means sabotaging other people or what have you, they will do whatever it takes. I don't know if this part of the movie, Cool Runnings, is accurate or not, because I know a lot of the movie takes, let's say, lots of liberties with the story. But at one point, the Olympic Committee tries to disqualify the Jamaican team. And the coach makes the argument that punish me for my mistakes, do not punish them for my mistakes. And they're reinstated and are allowed to compete. Now, they didn't win, but they gained respect because they lost with class. And in our world, you don't get a lot of respect for losing with class from the masses. Failing to attempt and failing to succeed the outcome looks the same, but the paths are very different, and so they are not the same. There are people all around you who have failed to succeed, who look like people who have failed to attempt. And there are lots of people who conclude that because I don't have a fancier office, a loftier title, a higher wage, a fancier car, a more ornate and articulate house, that I am somehow some kind of slacker and loser. Well, the real thing is that I learned that there are two kinds of people. There are the people who value winning, and there are the people who care about how you achieve things. In his novel Ender's Game, Orson Scott Card reminds us that the way we win matters. There are, of course, people who don't care about how they win. They'll win at all costs. They will do whatever it takes. They will cheat. They will lie. I do not believe that virtuous ends come from unvirtuous means. Now, for the moment, that won't really matter. If you win the title, the cup, the prize, then it doesn't go away. And very rarely does anyone come after you. Sometimes they'll put an asterisk in the record book, but that's only for people who know what that means. And so the person who wins gets to move forward. And this is a historical thing. The leading general, French general in Algeria, the Battle of Algiers, asked the French nobility and leadership, does France want to win? Then France needs to be willing to do what it takes to win. And of course, France was not at that point, and so France lost their territory of Algeria. The same thing is true of other places. When the Vikings raided England, the Vikings were willing to do whatever it took. They were willing to kill anyone, make any truce, break any truce, tell any lie, get themselves baptized and then not mean it. They were there to plunder. They were not there to make a deal. Not all the Vikings were that way, but the raiding ones were. And so the kings of the Saxons quickly learned that it was very difficult to trust them, and you should trust them, but also be prepared to have them stab you in the back, which is ironic because that's a lesson that Caesar should have taught everyone. Because you can't always trust your friends. You can't really, and I hate to be this cynical, but anyone can change their mind at any point, and that's the problem. So last week, almost exactly a week ago, we had an election. And so things happened that were a surprise to many people. There was a predicted red wave, which did not happen. And you have to ask yourself why this happened. And I know there are two major reasons. Number one, the Republicans were not willing to do whatever it took to win. And number two, the Democrats were willing to do whatever it took to win. I don't know exactly what lengths they were willing to do, but there was definitely a gulf between them that resulted in a difference in outcomes. And that's what I've come to present here today. First and foremost, we cannot explain away with fraud what can be explained away by laziness and stupidity. The GOP runs stupid campaigns. They pick mushmouth candidates who sometimes don't do a very good job. Let's take a few of them, for example. We'll start with Sigal Chattah, however you say that, the Israeli attorney who ran for attorney general against Aaron Ford and lost by a significant margin. Sigal Chattah had what could only be described as a half-baked campaign. When I was filling out my ballot, I looked at all the people's responses to the local newspaper here in Las Vegas about the questions they had about the candidates and their policies. And hers were vapid and vague and half-baked. And I looked at her and thought, Aaron Ford has personally negatively affected my life, and so I'm voting against him only because he's personally negatively affected my life. Now, of course, he won, so my vote didn't count. It made no difference. But I don't know that she wanted to win. I really can't tell. She's not the only one that ran a lackluster campaign. I can't remember his name now. I don't have a ballot in front of me. The guy who ran for treasurer and the woman who ran for the Secretary of State. I think they were so dependent on a red wave, they didn't do anything. Now, the Democrats didn't either. It's been like only in the last 2 weeks I saw any ads, any signs and posters. And, of course, I don't pay attention to anything that happens in October because everybody lies in October, and there's not enough time to vet whether or not it's true. And then there's Paul Laxalt's family that opposes him. I mean, who the hell comes out publicly and opposes their own family members? What an awkward Thanksgiving dinner they're going to have again this year. Because he ran 4 years ago for governor and had the same problem. They don't pick candidates that are quality, that and they don't, and the candidates they pick don't run. They just assume they're going to win. I guess that, oh, there's a red wave reported. People are upset with the Democrats, so we're just going to be inaugurated because historically speaking, during the midterm elections, that's what happens. Now, compare this to the Democrats. So these are not from individual candidates, but these are actual things that were both of which left on my car on campus. So here's the first one. So this is a flyer that came out, encouraging people to register to vote. And of course, Democrats are fighting across Nevada to create good-paying union jobs, protect reproductive freedom, and fix the broken federal immigration system. Okay, and it says that I'm not registered to vote. Okay, well, I am because I did vote, and here's my ballot. Get to that in a second. Okay, now these are lies, but they left one on every car, and they left them on campus because young people are the most uninformed voters. And if you're an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old and this is your first election because you weren't eligible to vote 2 years ago, you probably haven't been paying much attention to what happened. So they can tell you whatever they want. So good paying union jobs. Okay, well, the unions do the pay. Protect reproductive freedom. This is so you can get an abortion. And fix the broken federal immigration system. Now, they didn't say they wanted to repair immigration. They said fix it. And then up through my 1911 version of the Oxford English Dictionary at home, the 12-volume set, fix, if you look it up, does not mean repair. It means to make permanent or to fix in place, like you'd fix a fight or rig an immigration system. That's what it means. And then these came out. This is only one of which I was able to preserve. This was on my car. There were also ones hanging on the wall, paying people to get people out to vote. There was one I didn't get because it was hanging on the wall and someone took it down. But this one is on my car. Huge flyer for my car. Can't miss it. Earn $250 plus. This is to text all your friends and get them out to vote. Of course, the presumption is that talk to your people, get them out to vote from your own home on your own time. And they basically, defeat Trump Republicans, get out the vote, text out the vote. So the Democrats are the ones who spent the money to get people out to vote. So they spent the money. They did not assume they were going to win, and so they won. So this is the first point, is you cannot explain away with claims of fraud, things that can be explained away with laziness and stupidity. The Republican Party is stupid, and the Republican Party is lazy. They thought Nevada was in the bag. I gotta cover this up because I don't necessarily want you to see my address here. This loyalty card that I have here. Okay, so this is they mail everyone a ballot so that you could mail in your ballot. And when you go to vote, because I went to vote in person, which is why I still have this, and also, look, proof I didn't cheat. They have you sign this thing on your honor that you won't, that you're only going to vote once and you didn't mail this in it. But this is an on your honor thing. And if you're willing to do whatever it takes to win, why wouldn't you be willing to do whatever it takes to win? Because the race doesn't go to the best person. The race goes to the person who gets the people to go and vote for them. And it doesn't matter if you lie. It doesn't matter if you cheat. Once the score is up, the score is up. And it's only if they catch you after the fact. Like Lance Armstrong won all of those races. And then after the fact, when they found out he'd been doping up, they went back and they took it away from him. Same thing happened with James Watson of the double helix fame. They took his Nobel Prize away from him. I mean, he kept the money, but if you look him up now, you won't find him because of some things that he did after that are probably not things he should have done. Let's put it that way. You can go look it up if you care about yourself. But there's nothing that prevents me from signing that form and dropping this in the mail anyway. It's an on my honor system. And if I just do my one, how are they going to catch me? And if you get 10,000 people or 100,000 people to do this and they just did the one, how are you going to catch people? Because so my name is on this, it's covered up here, and then there's a sleeve that goes in. And when it arrives, I guess they scan it that you voted, I don't know, but and then it comes out. And once it comes out of that sleeve, it's not identified. It's a secret ballot. So they can do whatever they like. And if you're willing to do whatever it takes to win, then you're willing to do whatever it takes to win. You won't stop at paying people to text their friends or sending out flyers. I mean, the campus was awash with stuff from Catherine Cortez Masto the day before the election to get them out to vote. And I can't believe that Democrats ran here in Nevada on a platform of vote for us or you'll lose the right to abort your baby. That was basically their argument. Okay? Now, there's a really easy way to not have kids. You don't engage in the activities that lead to the making of kids. God only knows I don't. Nothing prevented me from dropping this in the mail, except my conscience. Because I believe, as Sorensen Scott Card wrote, as, what's the guy who wrote Human Action? Ludwig von Mises wrote, I value virtue more than any advantage the alternative affords. The way I win matters. Because I know if I cheat that I cheated. And I have done things in the past, not like, committed federal crimes and mail fraud or election fraud. I've done stuff where I bent my morals and my standards sometimes, and I was miserable. Because for me, winning is much more fun. But that season we went 0-13, I don't regret playing honestly, and I don't regret putting in the time. It would have just been a lot more fun and a lot more rewarding, and I may have stuck with it longer than that if I'd won. Same thing with martial arts. My teacher enforced that in order to advance in rank, we had to win a certain number of trophies. So I went to enough tournaments to win the absolute minimum amount of points from trophies to get a black belt, and then I quit. Because it wasn't fun. Because it's not fun to lose all the time because other people are willing to kick you in the knee, kick you in the crotch, and do whatever it takes to take you down so they can win. It's not fun. So I hate losing. I lose all the time. I'll finish with one other story. It's not election related, but has to do with the same topic. It's been almost 10 years now since the woman of my dreams left. I don't want her back because she's not the same woman anymore. It's been almost 10 years. We both changed. Her stepdad hated my guts and did not want us together. And all you need to know is he lied to her. I remember I had to go and prove to her and show her my court documents because he lied to her and said that I was still married and I was trying to have an affair with her. And I still don't know if that convinced her. He was willing to do whatever it took to tear us apart, and did that, and won. Was I tempted to do the same thing? Yes. But I know that manipulation and ultimatums are rarely, if ever, given out of love. That a person who lies to you to win is not your friend. That a person who bribes you with things and promises and then takes them away is not your friend. Nobody watches Charlie Brown and thinks that Lucy is doing Charlie Brown a favor by yanking out the ball just before he goes to kick it. And I had somebody do that to me a month ago, and I got hurt because of that, and it took me weeks to recover. This woman, 10 years ago, my heart's still broken. Because the way I won her mattered to me. I was going to win her fairly, or not at all. And he was willing to do whatever it took to win. And he thinks that he's the virtuous person. And the winner almost always thinks that they are better. John Huntsman Sr. wrote a book, Winners Never Cheat. I have it. I read it. I don't agree with it because there are lots of winners who cheat. When you train to fight, you don't train to fight fair. Fighting fair is for tournaments and things, but even then, as you know, it doesn't happen. When you fight someone, you fight to win. You don't fight to be fair. Because sometimes your life is literally on the line. Your livelihood is literally on the line. And I have applied for jobs where I know people lied about things on their resumes, got the jobs, and now they can put it on their resume because they got hired, even if they got fired later for misrepresentation, that I can't put on there because I didn't get the job. Winners cheat. Cheaters win. Now, not everyone who cheats wins. But is there cheating going on? Oh, you bet your bottom dollar. So 2 years ago when they told us that there's no significant evidence of widespread voter fraud, okay, maybe. But that was specifically phrased because no significant evidence of widespread leaves room for it happened. We are just not sure how much. Because it does happen. Everybody cheats. Everybody lies. If you go and read the cover of Winners Never Cheat, he even makes that. I'm going to read it because it's right here. I looked it up because I couldn't remember who wrote it. It says, everyone lies, everyone cheats, cuts corners, tells lies. Maybe it was different once, but not today. If you want to succeed in the economic climate, you simply have to make compromises, right or wrong. Winners depends on how you define winning. But the way the world defines winning, oh yeah, cheaters win all the time. They don't always win, but they do win all the time. It's called criminals. They're cheaters. And cheaters get away with multiple relationships, multiple families, fraud on their resumes, fraud in elections, in business, in families, in church. It really depends on how you define winning. For me, as it is for Orson Scott Card, the way I win matters. And so, if the Democrats won fair and square, congratulations. If the Republicans lost fair and square, congratulations. It's a win, one way or another. They both won, but one of them won in a way that's measurable. Not succeeding and not attempting look the same in the end, but they are not the same, and the paths differ greatly. If the Republican Party exercised a fair campaign, they did not succeed, and they did not win. But they did not fail, and they did not try. Lots of people don't even try. I'm not sure Sigal Chattah actually wanted to win. She did such a crappy job that however much fraud may or may not have occurred, there was definitely laziness and stupidity on the part of the GOP. And they need to own that. Because that's not how the Democrats operate. The Democrats are clearly willing to do whatever it takes. Or at least enough to win. And that's the lesson to be learned here. If you really want something badly enough, you will find a way. And if you are a good person, you will find a way to do it legitimately, fairly, honestly, assuming that there is one. With this woman that I loved, I'm not sure there was one. I'm not sure that there was anything that I could do that was honest and virtuous and true. So I stopped doing things when I felt like the things that were available to me were no longer things I was willing to live with for the rest of my life. Because let's imagine it had worked out. Let's imagine I had pulled out all stops and convinced her to marry me and abandon her mother and her stepfather and cut all ties. What happens to me years later if she decides that she made the wrong choice? What happens to my life if later on she decides that I cheated her and that my win deserves an asterisk? I believe that no matter what you believe, that somewhere there is a law of consequences. For people who are not Christians, they believe in the law of reincarnation. For people who are Christians, we believe in judgment. I think the Muslims and the Jews also believe that. So most of your major world religions believe in some sort of a judgment. And then there's the people who don't want there to be one because they're pretty trashy people. And they do the square root of squat that's good and noble and true for anyone but themselves. Because I think most politicians are corrupt and they don't give two flying hootenannies about you. But there is a consequence. We may never see it, and it may not be the one we wish. I've been cheated and mistreated out of a lot of things. And the Attorney General of the state of Nevada did not do right by me. That's something for somewhere else. And I was hoping that he would lose this election as a consequence. But just because he didn't lose this election doesn't mean there won't be a consequence. I'll tell you one more story about a consequence. I don't want to give you too many details because I want you to read the book. It's called Whose Walmart Is It? I worked for Walmart for a while, obviously, or I wouldn't write a book about Walmart. And I had this supervisor who refused to do right by me. We're pretty sure that he held me where I was because he was getting bonuses based on my work and that his livelihood depended on that. Well, because I earned an advanced degree in biochemistry, I didn't have to stay working in a Walmart warehouse for the rest of my life like some of the people who were still there. And one day I left. And I think the bonus went with it. Because I think they had to hire 2 people to replace me. They wouldn't give me a raise or a promotion, but they would hire 2 people to replace me. That seems pretty smart. All I know is that eventually, a few years after I left, he lost everything. He got divorced, lost his house, lost his job, and was penniless. Now, I'm not saying that the only thing he was doing was to me that was bad was to me, and that my decision is what precipitated all those events. But I'm saying that I think he reaped what he sowed. I didn't wish that on him. I really just wanted to be treated right, to be treated fairly, to be promoted, because other people were promoted above me who were for the reasons I should have been promoted, and they refused to give me a promotion or a raise, and so they lost everything, and he lost everything. It's too bad, but it is, I think, the way things work. I know every time I bend any rule, I suffer. I'll leave you with this personal anecdote because it's true. This shows that I'm not perfect either. In March of this year, I took a colleague up and we went hiking on Mount Charleston outside of town. And for some reason, I did not register that it was March. I've never been up there that earlier in the season. And I parked in a place where you are not allowed to park until April. When we got back from our hike, there was a ticket on my windshield, which I paid. Because anytime I bend the rules, I get the consequences pretty damn quickly. There are a couple things I haven't paid for directly, but that doesn't mean that I haven't been punished for them in other ways. My life is not sunshine and Skittles. But I try not to bend the rules because if I bend the rules, I'm pretty damn sure I'll get caught. So here's my mail-in ballot. It is November 14th, 2022. I'm not mailing it in. I already voted. It's over. It's been declared and finished. But that doesn't mean that other people didn't do that. It's an on your honor system. And I am old enough to know that most people are all hat and no cattle when it comes to honor. That I can trust most people as far as I can throw the universe. And that if I rely upon the honor of other people, I'm just going to become a doormat. It's too late for this. I want you to remember 2 years from now, the same people who shut down businesses that cost people jobs, some of whom lost their houses too because they lost their jobs, will campaign 2 years from now and ask for you to let them keep theirs. Remember, next time there's an election, that an election is a job performance evaluation. That if I did as poorly at my job as these people have done at theirs, there's no way in Hoboken that they would keep me around any longer than they have to. I have a government job, so it's a little more difficult to fire me than to just have people come up and say whether they want to keep me or not, which is how an election really works. But people have been fired from this job. It's possible. It's hard. And it might be difficult to remove people from elected positions. But, and then there's this at the bottom. You may not be able to read this. I'm going to read it in small print here at the bottom. Politicians are never altruistic because their job is not to become obsolete, but to become absolute. I hope people are better than that. I miss being naive and hopeful. I know they're relying on that with people who are half my age to win elections, to promise you the moon and give you the boot. Make good choices, do your own homework, find out for yourself, and decide what you are willing to do. If you want it badly enough, you will find a way. And I hope that if you want it badly enough, you will find a virtuous way. Godspeed, good luck, live long and prosper, and be good to each other, because we're all we have.